Okay, so I'm going to start off by asking you folks to give me a show of hands. Next. How many of you support agriculture? Great, thank you. Hands down. Oh, for those of you who didn't raise your hands, it's totally okay. Okay? I understand. And if you pay taxes, by the way, you do support agriculture to the tune of $190 million. That's how much of our tax dollars went to Hawaii agriculture last year. Right? But why? Why do we support agriculture? 3 basic reasons. We want ag, we need ag, and ag needs us. Isn't that a strange statement? Why does ag need us? It comes down to, again, a couple fundamental reasons. One is risk versus reward, and the slide is black because this is a very boring topic. But basically, if you have a business that's high risk, it has to offer high rewards in order to attract investors, right? Make sense? What about farming? Farming is very high risk. You have weather, pests, diseases. What about the high rewards? Not so much. Okay, so we have farming, which is high risk, not so high rewards. Who's going to invest their time and money in farming? Second reason, market failure. Economists say that in a free market like ours, when you have a supply and demand need to balance, okay? And when they can't balance, they call that a market failure. And governments need to step in if they want to correct it. In agriculture, or for agriculture rather, we've expressed the demand. As a society, we say we want more, right? We want more diverse agriculture, more local, more sustainable. But our supply, meaning our farms and farmers, is actually shrinking. So think about that. So why do we support agriculture? We support agriculture in order to counteract these 2 conditions in an attempt to get the agriculture we want. Okay, but do you know what the average per farm profit was for Hawaii farms is? Do you know what the average per farm profit is? $6,000 a year. Is it any wonder that people find it hard to be farmers? Okay, and even with this, I personally know hundreds of people right here in Hawaii that actually want to farm. Crazy folks, right? And the reasons they want to farm are for environmental reasons or social or cultural. But they can't, sadly, most of the times because it's unaffordable for them or they can't access land or financing, right? So even though we support agriculture, it's not enough. We want more, we're getting less. So that's the bad news. Sorry, it's quite a bummer, okay? But what if? What if we flip our thinking about our support of agriculture? What if there was a way to get more without necessarily paying more? Right? What if, instead of thinking of farming as a private business that we support, we instead think of farming as a public service that helps to support itself? Now, what is a public service? You know, some of you may be thinking farming as a public service. I don't really buy that, right? A public service is something like public parks or firefighting or something like this, okay? But why are those things public services? What makes those things deserve to be considered public services? Well, there's a couple basic characteristics of a public service. One, as a society, we recognize the value that these services provide to our lives, and we want them. And we want them for everyone. Okay? Number 2, we also recognize the fact that the free market is not going to provide these things to us, at least not in the way that we want. right? So by these two criteria, farming is a public service. Think about it. Clearly, the free market isn't working. Over a 5-year period in the US, do you know we lost 100,000 farmers, 100,000 farms, and over 7.5 million acres of farmland? Right? This is with all our support. So the free market isn't working. And of course, we do value agriculture. We value it. Let me ask you folks a question. How many of you are here tonight? How many of you took the trouble to come down tonight because you want useful information to make your farm more productive, or useful information, let's say you're an agricultural professional in your job? Terrific, a few of you. Thank you. But my suspicion is, okay, most of you came here tonight because you actually like agriculture. It resonates with you, right? Agriculture is not just another industry. There's something about it that resonates with us. Something kind of primal, you know, sustaining life by cultivating life, right? The food, right? I'll reference all the talks you heard earlier tonight. Agriculture is important to us. We value it. You know, we value it in ways that go well beyond the food it provides or its economic contribution. We value having security and control of our food supply. We value having access to fresh, local, diverse foods. Okay? We value how agriculture can support our environment, how it can provide us with green spaces, how it can support rural lifestyles. We value how agriculture can connect us with nature, culture, and identities. So, because agriculture does meet these two criteria, I say agriculture is already a public service. But what would happen if we start thinking of agriculture as a public service? What might the future look like? Well, first of all, we would change our beliefs. Okay? We would shift funding priorities from export crops to crops, farming methods, and farmers that serve our needs. We would stop just looking at the financials of agriculture when making decisions on loans, leases, and investments. And we would start looking at farms as public assets, public serving assets, instead of just merely as business assets, right? When we're making decisions on community planning and land use. Okay, if we change our beliefs, we're bound to change our actions. New farmers could reduce their college debt through existing federal programs. More farmers could get loans and leases to start their farms or to expand. We would build shared facilities to help farms start up or be more productive. We would even have real estate developers contribute to ag parks just as they now do for kiddie parks. And instead of relegating farming out to some remote area, as we do now, typically, right, we would create and integrate farms within our communities. Okay? So with these changes in our actions, we will change our results. We'll increase both the number and the viability of farmers. We'll have greater access to a diverse range of fresh, local, healthy food, especially in the areas that need it most, right? And we'll interact with and enjoy the farms and farmers that are within our communities and gain a better understanding of our food systems. So, I don't know. I think that would be a pretty cool future, okay? So remember, already supporting farming with our tax dollars. But by flipping our thinking about our support, right, we could have agriculture that is much closer to what we want, right? We could have agriculture that what we get is much closer to the agriculture that we want. I mean, think about it this way. Instead of just having community-supported agriculture, we could have community-driven agriculture. Wouldn't that be great? Right? So if this all makes sense to you, if this is a future that appeals to you, then let's start creating this future by flipping our perspectives right now. Because this very simple change in the way we think about farming will change what farming can do for us. Thank you very much.